Folks, welcome to an all new episode of So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Tuesday episode. That's right, it's Tuesday. We have a great episode for you. We have the one and only Taylor Lorenz here with us. There are timestamps if you want to skip right to Taylor, but before that, I want to talk about the new season of Real Housewives of Atlanta that premiered on Bravo Sunday night. Whoo, boy! I got to tell you guys, I liked it. I liked it a lot. And we're going to get to that in a second. But how are you? Was your Monday okay? Checking in with everybody. I'm here in Arizona. And this is my last night here. Had dinner with my family earlier, and it has been wild. I had to watch 5 episodes. There's this new documentary on the Karen Reed case that's premiering on Discovery ID and Max next week. 5 episodes, and I got to tell you, this one is incredible. If you have followed the Karen Reed story, it's really well done. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, so I'm going to shut my mouth, but I will be interviewing the director, and you should be hearing that next week. But my goodness, this case is fascinating. So I watched like 5 episodes of this 5 episode series, and it is so funny. My dad's in the other room when I was watching this, and I said, "Look at this, Dad. Haha. I'm getting paid to watch TV. You know, when I was a kid, you told me stop watching TV, and now look at me now. I'm watching a lot of TV. Watching a lot of TV, and I'm going crazy. But yeah, no, it's been good here. I wanted to follow up on a story I did about Tamra Judge. She allegedly quit Real Housewives of Orange County. They were filming a cast trip over in New Orleans, and she quit. She posted on her Instagram stories, and that's when you know it's serious when a housewife posts on their stories and says, like, listen, I'm out. And then I believe Taste of Reality, or I'm sorry if I'm misquoting the Instagram post that this came from. They said, "Are you quitting? Is Tamra quitting?" And she replied to that comment saying, "Yes." Now, I talked about this on Monday's episode because the first part had come out that she had posted this Instagram story. And I said, listen, Tamra has threatened things like this before, but also take into consideration what she's going through with Teddy Mellencamp and Teddy's very serious illness right now, that I'm sure she is not in the best headspace. Now, listen, I know Tamra can be very polarizing in terms of her character or in terms of maybe who she is in real life and on the show. But obviously, I think there's some real serious issues going on that she potentially is worried about. And then you throw gasoline on that fire, and the gasoline is participating in Real Housewives of Orange County. Now, I am not a huge fan of quitting shows, of threatening to quit, of running out of scenes. You know me. I feel like they should be penalized. I feel like you need a $50,000 penalty when somebody does things like this, so they don't do this. Now, I think I was on to something a little bit because Andy Cohen on his Sirius XM radio show this morning spoke about the news, said he got a report about this last night. He couldn't really get into it. He did want people to keep in mind the Teddy Mellencamp news. So I don't know, right? Like, I mean, I think this could be one of those threats, not threats. She really meant it in the moment, and maybe she's going to take a breather, feel things out, and then potentially come back. But on her Instagram story today, she posted a photo of herself, which looks like at a baggage claim at an airport. And she put a little emoji sign that says, mental health is health. Now, I'm all for mental health. But unfortunately, it was Aviva Drescher that said in a docu-series last year that housewives are like gladiators with tits. Sorry for the foul language, but I thought there was a lot of truth to that. These women are warriors, or they have to be sometimes. They also promote really strong, solid friendships, but they sometimes have to be warriors, and they fight on national television or cable television. And Tamra is somebody that dishes it out so much. But you do have to have some empathy for the situation. So hopefully she will rethink this. I don't know if she's allowed to talk about this on her podcast or whatnot, but this is, I'm sure it's a very intense situation right now. So I'm waiting for more information. You guys let me know if she's spoken somewhere else out about this. But as of now, she is saying she has quit Real Housewives of Orange County. Oh man, I wonder how. I mean, I think they're only a couple weeks into filming, so you can't just walk out. Now, of course, there are contracts, right? So she is contracted. She's not a friend of. She doesn't get paid per episode. She gets paycheck for the entire season. But I have a feeling when these scenes get emotional or heated, I don't think this is this production company or Bravo's first rodeo when it comes to this. So hopefully they will give Tamara a chance to collect herself. Now remember, Kyle Richards this season of Beverly Hills, she left a scene. I believe it was over at Bose's wellness retreat at her house. She left, and I guess she did not film for a week. She didn't, kind of post anything like Tamra did, but they said, you know what, take a week, come back, and she came back. So maybe that's what Tamra will do once the dust settles. But as of now, Tamra has quit Orange County. Okay? Can we? Okay. We can survive this, folks. It's not as dire as the Spritzer Wars over on Summer House and Southern Charm. That's the real war going on. The Tamra stuff, Spritzer Wars, Craig Conover, Kyle Cook. Okay, so did you guys watch Real Housewives of Atlanta? My God, I thought this was excellent. I really did, and you know why? I'll just be very honest. I didn't expect much from it. And I think sometimes when your expectations are low about a show that you at one point really loved, and not to say that the last couple of seasons have been horrible, I thought there have been entertaining moments. I mean, listen, we had the iconic Bolo episode. What was that, 3 seasons ago? Even last season was okay. You had the Drew and Ralph. You had Marlo, who didn't necessarily fit in. I mean, you had Shibai Sheree. I mean, you had all of these people that we have gotten so used to on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I mean, Candy Burris, for the love of God, which, by the way, I miss Candy on Atlanta. But I will say, my God, congratulations goes out to Candy because she is one of the producers of Othello on Broadway. And guess who's starring in Othello? Jake Gyllenhaal and the one and only Denzel Washington. Candy Burris is one of the producers of that Broadway play, one of Shakespeare's finest works. I mean, my God, I do not know Candy at all, but I am so flippin' proud. Not proud, that's the wrong. It's just, I'm stunned. I mean, this lady has done it all. And I would have loved to have seen Denzel Washington on Real Housewives of Atlanta, but I understand that, she's going to take a little bit of a break. So I didn't expect much, right? My thing is with Atlanta, I was like, you know what? We just got to mend fences and we got to bring Nene Leakes back. Nene Leakes still is one of, if not the best housewife of all time, right? So we have season 16 of Atlanta. I saw the trailer for it, and I have to tell you, the trailer didn't do tons for me. I mean, I thought it was good. There were some funny moments, but there were a lot of the women that I wasn't familiar with. I mean, you had Drew coming back. You have Kenya Moore, which we know that Kenya is only on part of this season. And she got into it with, I believe, Britt, who we meet in this episode. And she was, I think there was an agreement, but perhaps mutual, that she would not return this season. But I believe at this point, the door is open for Kenya to return at some point. It did not completely sour. Like, it got intense at first, things calmed down, and I think Kenya and Bravo and the production company have all come to some sort of agreement, hopefully, right? So you have Kenya, you have Drew, and of course Shamia. Shamia is the glue, as she calls herself, the glue. I in I never thought in a million years that Shamia would be the center of this Real Housewives of Atlanta season, but Shamia is our entrance point at the beginning of the episode. And my God, I guess it was like, we always knew Shamia as Portia's friend, but I didn't realize how flippin' wealthy Shamia is. My God, she has a full-size elevator in her mansion, and she had this other elevator that wasn't even an elevator. It was like a clear bubble thing. It was like, this is what the future looks like. Imagine having 2 elevators, as I'm holding up 4 fingers. Imagine having 2 elevators, you guys. I don't know why that stuck with me. It wasn't even like the normal elevator. It was the one that was all clear and bubbly like. I was like, whoa, a clear elevator. It, it, it's the simple things for me, you guys. I'm still freaking out that Paige had a mini fridge next to her bed in Summer House. I was like, wow, a mini fridge next to the bed. I love it. But this clear elevator at Shamia's place, my God. So anyway, so we got Shamia. Cynthia Bailey's a friend of, so we have Cynthia in this. We got Cynthia, Kenya, Drew, and Shamia, and of course the one and only Portia. And Portia is finally back, I believe, after 3 seasons. The last time we saw her was the Bolo season. Bolo, I think, really did something for male strippers. Like it picked up where Magic Mike left off. I mean, we all remember the Bolo moment, and we needed that because we were going through COVID at that point. So we needed the Bolo episode. To me, that was an uneven season as well, but the Bolo episode, I believe it's an extended episode too, I was like, this is like art. This is really art. But Portia is back, and she went off into the sunset with Simon, who Simon was originally with Fallon, who Fallon was friends with Portia, but Portia then got with Simon. And then that marriage, we are now in the middle of divorce proceedings. And I'm sorry, I'm not to laugh, but we're in the middle of divorce proceedings. Portia's like, all the glitters is not gold. I was posting things on Instagram, acting like I was happy, but I wasn't. And I was like, relatable queen. How many of us post things on Instagram and social media to try to act like our lives are so, not me, I just post silly memes, but like, oh, our lives are so great. I love that Portia was like, sometimes my life wasn't as great as when I was, as what I was posting. So we have her back. And I just have to say, I don't want to say this is a return to form because I think there's a little bit of its own form happening. And I don't want to jump the gun, which I have a tendency to do. And I have a guest that's coming on next week to talk about the first 2 episodes of Atlanta. So we'll see the second episode this Sunday, and hopefully it holds up. But I have to say, what they're doing right now, I think is working. The banter between these women, like, as I get older, it is harder and harder for me to remember names. And I was sitting here going, okay, that's Britt. I was going through, that's Kelly, Waffle Queen. And it had my interest enough where I was like, I've got to remember these women's names because I think they're going to be here for a little while. And the banter was already there. Kelly, the Waffle Queen, Kelly coming up to Portia and being, oh my God, you guys, I wrote it down. I'll check my notes, but I think it was like 26 minutes into the episode. We had our first mention of the blogs. If you've listened to the show for a while, I think I love when a Housewives show mentions the blogs. Like, oh, they've been talking in the blogs. And I'm always like, what blogs are we reading? Does blogs mean podcast at this point? Does blogs mean YouTube? Why are we still calling them blogs? And are there blogs? I'm still in like the Perez Hilton blog era or the Defamer, Delisted, all of those blogs. But what are we considering blogs? And in Atlanta, is there a proliferation of blogs that is potentially not being picked up the rest of the country? And by the way, this is just could be me. I could be completely stupid. Blogs might be everywhere. But I love that 26 minutes in, Kelly brings up the blogs. And I'm like, hell yeah. That's when I knew I was like locked in. The other great thing about this, the production on this is so top notch. Whoever chooses like the lenses and the lighting in this, it is such an upgrade from every other season of Atlanta thus far. I mean, there is some real money in this. The way this looks like cinema. I'm not joking. I'm not saying this is cinema, but it looks like cinema. You're like, this is the highest def of def. Like, this is high def. So I was very excited. And also, a lot of the complaint about Housewives is, I want to see opulence. I want to see wealth. Well, my God, this wealth is all over our faces at this point. Shamia's place, Kelly's townhouse, Brittany's, what was it, a 7-carat ring that the husband upgraded? Which, by the way, let's talk about the husband, right? There's we got Oakley, we got a former Bulls Knicks player. Yeah, I'm dropping sports knowledge right now. I just thought there was so many good moments. So we're going to go through a second and go through some of my favorite Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16 episode 1 premiere. Okay. And if you're not watching this, watch it. It's on Peacock. It was an extended episode. So it was like 54 minutes, but I got to tell you, it went fast for me. But if you're like me, just make sure, like, it's going to take a second before you remember all their names. This is what I always said when I used to watch The Bachelor. This is a recurring problem with me, but I think it's for everybody as well. What I want to propose is for the first couple, let's say 3 to 4 episodes of any season of any reality show, there needs to be a digital name tag, right? We don't need to make it egregious. It doesn't need to be bedazzled. It doesn't need to look like Elton John's wearing it. Just a little digital name tag that says Brit. And whenever Brit's in a scene, there's a little digital name tag, right? I know it might look a little corny because it might not go with their looks. I'm not talking huge, just a little digital name tag that just follows them around. So when I'm watching a great scene, I'm going, this is a scene between Brit and Kelly, because it is hard for me to remember names. And then once I got them, I got them. I remember Jax's name now for years. Very easy for me to remember. But in the beginning, like you watch those Bachelor shows, you watch Love Is Blind. I watch 90 Day Fiance. Half the time, I don't know their names at all. I'll watch a whole season not knowing their names. I'll be like the one person that's making the bad decisions. I mean, that's the entire cast of 90 Day Fiance, but you know what I mean, right? Okay, so let's go over some moments. So they start the episode off with kind of like introducing all of the women, like Shamia, Angela. She's married to Charles Oakley, the former basketball player. Drew Sidora, we find out, is living with Ralph, her estranged husband. Ralph lives in the basement. And if there isn't a more perfect person to live in a basement, that I don't know who, it's got to be Ralph. You have Britt, and in the scene with Britt beginning, she's the voiceover says, talking about sucking D with her friend's husband. I'm like, whoa. You got Kelly. Portia says, you are an slimy ass biatch. Proof, biatch. Full slimy ass bitch. We find out from Portia, her daughter Pilar. Pilar is getting so big and beautiful. She filed for divorce from Simon. She has financial issues and trust issues. She lets us know her and her daughter are still living in the marital home. And then, this is one of my favorite little details. We see a clip of Pilar, her daughter, driving in one of those little baby vehicles, but it's a little baby Cybertruck. A little baby Cybertruck. We have gone too far as a society. Um, Anyways, we also see this extended, very well shot scene of Risha in like this purple workout outfit. She looks like she's on top of a building or something. She has headphones on. I'm like, am I watching like a Fabletics commercial? And she's like kind of saying, they say karma. They say karma, but everything's going to be okay, while she's like working out in this purple outfit on top of like some building with headphones on. And then we cut to the beginning, which is like Shamia. And Shamia has a daughter, Shia, who's 5 years old, very cute. And she says, people know me as Portia's ride or die. And she lives in a $9 million house, which was the second largest real estate deal in Atlanta. And Shemia, you got to love her, because she literally says, a direct quote, she says, she is the female Jamie Foxx. She is also going to play Ray in an updated movie where she will win an Oscar. Now, she says she's the female Jamie Foxx. She says she's a quadruple threat actor, singer, dancer, host. That's amazing, right? She had Shiloh, her other daughter, who's 15 months via surrogacy, and there has been some issues. Now, her and her husband, Gerald, have been together for 10 years. And she likes to talk. In a talking head, she goes on a 5-minute story about meeting her husband, and they do that kind of troll edit where they have like a little timer, like 5 minutes in, and she talks night with her husband, and she went home with him, and they were in bed, and around 5 a.m. her stomach started gurgling, and she said she had to go to the bathroom, and it was like an explosion. It was like a symphony. And she says, all the reason I tell this story is this man accepted me for me. And she gives advice to all the women out there. She says, ladies, shit his bathroom the first night, mark your territory. And then the happy ending, she says, the next time I went over there, he had baby wipes for me. Baby wipes. This man is a real man. She says, Portia and I have known each other for decades, and Portia is the one that taught her to start shaving her vagina. And I was like, this is the Fried Green Tomatoes movie update that I want. This is my Steel Magnolias. So we know that Shamia is the center. She's going to let her hair down and her titties out, she says. She is the glue. Then we cut to Drew. We always know Drew from Drop It with Drew, her diet program. Her and Ralph are mediating. Kenya and Brooklyn are coming over to visit her and her daughter. The court order says that Ralph has to be in the basement, and that Drew to not be in the house every first, third, and fifth weekend. Aren't there only 4 weekends in a month? Like, I got really confused on that fifth weekend thing. I'm like, are we working the same calendar? Sorry, there's probably fifth weekends all over the place. I'm just not aware of them at this time. But Drew says Ralph loves being out on these streets. I love when people say their town, like these streets, it's like the Salt Lake City ladies are like the mean streets of Salt Lake City. But like Ralph likes to be on in the streets. She says they have to communicate through a court ordered app. And so she's got to keep it classy. She can't do any middle finger emojis. Drew, though, lets us know that she did 5 movies last year. She is working more. She's working more than Drew Barrymore at this point. Do you always sometimes like get worried about Drew Barrymore at this point because she has the talk show, and then I see her like in every commercial known to man. I think I said this before, but I think Drew Barrymore, does she have like a secret gambling problem or something? Anywho, um, we find out that she is doing music as well. And guess who she partnered for music with? Dennis. Dennis is one of Portia's ex. And Kenya points out, didn't Portia do music in 2014? Why didn't Dennis help Portia with her music? And I guess Dennis just wasn't feeling it. So we have this scene. Then we cut to Kelly. And Kelly is a trip, y'all. She has two twin 8-year-olds, Chastity and Chelsea. She has, I believe, Chance is the name. She's 11. She has her daughter Chloe, who is 17, and it's a single mom life. And her daughter Chloe is turning 17, right? 17. So she gets her 17 gifts at this birthday party, you guys. Um, 17 gifts, and they are all purses. She got her a Chanel bag. She got her Balmain. I mean, all of these fancy ass purses. And she's like, I'm going to do it for every one of my kids. Now, she makes her money through Nana's restaurant. She started this restaurant in 2016, Chicken and Waffles. She created a 24 karat waffle mix. She says she has a mimosa mix. What is a mimosa mix? I thought mimosas were just champagne and orange juice. Brittany is another new cast member, and that is Kelly's friend, right? So they are friends. And when they deliver the gifts to the daughter, there's like delivery men that come in with these very fancy gifts. And Kelly tells us that she is ready to build this motherfucking waffle empire one waffle at a time. And I love that kind of attitude, but I also love that it's about waffles. Like I have I don't even, it's probably been decades since I had a waffle, but I just love that waffles are like the key to a motherfucking empire. Like, of course. We cut to Portia and she is meeting with her divorce attorney. And this is a great fact, and this is so funny in the show, is that it's the same divorce attorney from 2013. We did an episode with Randy back in 2013, and now she is back. She is back to Randy. And Randy's like, thank you for coming back to us again. I love it. He's like, I love repeat customers. And Cordell was her first ex, right? And she says, this time I did it right. I did a prenup to like, our assets. The home that they live in is, I guess, owned 50-50 with her and Simon. But Simon has put a court decree in there that she cannot film in the house. So they're trying to do an emergency protective, I don't know, or some emergency court thing so that she can film in this house. And she says she, started getting suspicious of Simon because she, first off, doesn't want anybody to play with her money. And they would go to the airport and she'd be like, why do we have to stand in a secondary line? He might not have a real green card. He might have $900,000 in unpaid jet bills. And so this went south because I don't want to put this out there, but some people have speculated she might have married Simon for his money. And also, secondary line at the airport, does that just mean you don't have TSA pre-check? Does that mean you're just going, you're just raw dogging TSA? I don't, what did the secondary line thing mean? Anyways, she says she's reached out to Simon recently, but he does not want to communicate at all. So now she's growing colder. And then this show's ridiculous. So then we meet Britt again, who lets us know she has a 10 carat solitaire ring. And I think that was up from like 7 carats, and he upgraded the ring. And we have this scene with the 3 women that are kind of talking about Fallon being engaged to Simon before Portia was married to Simon. And this was where I wrote the 26-minute mark is when we first mention the blogs, is that it's in the blogs that Portia potentially stole Simon from Fallon, right? We also bring up Dennis, one of Portia's exes, who's now working with Drew, and says that Dennis was in her DMs. Brittany said that I think she went on a date with Dennis back in the day, and he bought her a diamond necklace on the first date. Very, very weird. We cut to a scene with Portia where she finds out that it is potentially crossing a line. That Drew, her sort of friend, Drew is an influencer who works for Portia's Go Naked hair care line, and this could be crossing a line that she is now working with Dennis. I mean, by the way, did you guys get this vibe as well? Is that in Atlanta, it feels like, is it like the Real Housewives of Orange County where there's only like 7 men in Orange County and one of them is John Jansen? Like, is Dennis our new John Jansen? Who's our new John Jansen? But it only seems like there's a handful of men in Atlanta thus far. Anyways, it's the day of Shamia's birthday party, which is what this was all leading up to. And it's raining. And she lets us know that she has beautiful pipes and she sings, "Rain, rain, go away. Come again another day." But she sings it way more beautiful than I did. Portia is on a FaceTime with Cynthia at her place while she's getting glammed. And Portia tells Cynthia that Dennis has been out in these streets with Drew. Okay, now back at the party, Shamia has stilt walkers that play violins. She has women with candelabras on their head, like with lit, like open flames on their head. I mean, we have flipping stilt walkers. This is wealth, you guys. Oh God. So people are showing up to the birthday party, and Kelly is talking to Shamia and says, well, first off, Shamia says, "Hey, listen, I told my best friend Portia about you talking about her being with Simon that originally was with Fallon, right? I know it's a lot of names. I know it's confusing. We're going to learn together, okay?" So she tells her this, and Kelly's like, "Yeah, I know because I saw it on the blogs." And then they show the blog, and the blog is an Amazon Live that Portia did, where Portia's like, "This new girl, Kells, I don't think I get along with her." And Kelly's like, "No, no, no, don't call me Kells. You either call me Kelly or the Queen of Waffles." And I will say, this is how much this show inspired me. I don't want you to call me Ryan or Bailey anymore. I want you to call me the King of Waffles. Call me the King of Waffles from this point out. It has inspired me. But anyway, Shemaya says, "I don't want to be in the middle of it. I don't want to." Now, Cynthia Bailey, she gets here and she looks beautiful, but I love Cynthia's appreciation of wealth. And this house, it's just called the Sterling House. There's no address. It's just the Sterling House. That and the clear elevator, the clear bubble elevator, my God, that's wealth. So we find out finally what Shamia's husband does. Guess what he does, you guys? He builds, manufactures, and installs HVAC systems. Like the air systems, and she like says, the things you see at the airport, HVAC systems. The only the only place I've heard of HVAC systems, and don't laugh at me, but I'm a big fan of Love After Lockup and Life After Lockup, which is a show on WeTV on Friday nights. And a lot of the people that come out of prison, they have like their HVAC license, which they learn how, they get in prison, which I think is awesome to be able to learn a trade. But that's like, they'll come out of prison, they'll be like, "Oh, I have HVAC training." And I'm like, okay, so that's where I've heard this. Now, HVAC systems, this is a great profession because I can't tell you if this is made up or not. Like, it sounds real to me. HVAC systems. Like, why would I question HVAC systems? Like, I'm on to people right now like Tom Girardi that's making hundreds of $millions being a lawyer. Like, that to me was suspicious back then, but I just let it go. But HVAC systems, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. I have no clue what it is. Sure, that HVAC systems built this home and those elevators, right? So we meet Angela. She comes in. Charles Oakley is her husband, played on the Bulls and Knicks. They've been married 10 years. Kelly is talking to Cynthia about her 4 daughters. They're getting along. They're both Pisces. It does come up about Portia stealing Fallon's man. And Cynthia's like, uh-oh. Now, Britt and her husband, Michael, I believe his name comes in, and they're a really interesting. I need to hear more from Michael. I'm very curious. He was a little quiet this episode, so I'm excited to hear him speak more. And then Drew Sidora comes in by herself, and Drew says she met Kelly through her social media manager, and she only knows that she is really big into chicken and waffles. Kenya gets there, and she is already kind of making fun of Brit. She's already kind of, and we already know that Drew gets picked on a lot, and I don't think that's going to change this season. But Kenya's already kind of poking at Brit a little bit. Now everybody is dressed in beautiful white, but Shamia comes out in this beautiful blue dress and makes this grand entrance on the back staircase, and I'm talking a huge staircase. And there's like ladies like with like signs that say "shot o'clock," like let's do a shot o'clock. And Shamia gets on the mic and just gives a huge shout out to Gerald, the king of the HVACs. She's like, everyone give it up for my husband. Portia still has not arrived. And we finally see Shamia's gift. And guess what, you guys? It's a Rolls Royce Cullinan. I only know how to pronounce Toyota, but I think it's Cullinan. And it's a $430,000 car. Are you shitting me? 430,000? Oh my god. Oh my god. That's uh that's like 15 Corollas. A 400, anyways, I was like, game over, dude. And Cynthia in a talking head says, dude, if I had these type of gifts, I would have made my marriage work. It's a great line. Portia finally gets there at 8:10 p.m. and she gets there right when the gift is being presented. It's Shamia's moment. And like Portia walks right into that shot, the moment. And Kelly in a talking head says, you better act like you've been here the whole time. You know, if you come to my birthday and you do this, you better act like you've been here the whole time. And Shami even in a talking head says, in this moment, you got to be to the left, to the left. And then there was this, she goes to the left, to the left. And then there was just this awkward pause as she's staring directly down the barrel of the camera in the talking head. It was Shamia. Who knew Shamia had this in her? She's a star, man. We have Cynthia talking to Kenya. Portia's talking to Shamia. Says, sorry, I'm late. The traffic was insane. I think this was a Sunday. The traffic was insane. She's like, you know, out in these streets, it was like a backup of vlogs on the runway. Um, so we find out that Shamea hung out with Kelly and Britt, Cynthia tells Portia, and talks about the Fallon, Simon, Portia, Dennis, Drew situation. And Kenya says, hide your husband, hide your wife. So all the girls finally sit down as a cast. Kelly says to Portia, who she doesn't really know Portia at this point. Kelly says to Portia, why did this woman take this girl's husband? Why did this woman take this girl's husband? Like, kind of confronts Portia about this situation. And Portia's like, you can't have that be your opening line to me. Like, dude, Kelly threw down in that scene immediately. And I have to tell you, I was not mad at it. I love Portia, but I was not mad at it. I'm like, we've got a season here, folks. And Kelly's like, just like answer the question. Answer the question. Portia's like, I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak to you. And Brittany says, listen, Kelly is a sweet girl, and she's just trying to address the elephant in the room. And Britt says, I stand on my business. Own what you're doing and saying. Answer the damn question and move forward. She says that part in a talking head. They all now get in the elevator because I was like, yeah, more elevator time. And we go up to Shamia's like inside lounge, which looks like an actual nightclub. And Shamia then is talking to Drew, says, hey, Drew, I didn't get invited to your birthday. And Portia says, well, I did get an invite to Drew's birthday from Dennis. And they're like, well, how did Dennis invite anybody to Drew's birthday party? And Kenya's like, that is weird. And Drew's like, well, that's a surprise to me. And then Drew makes up some phony excuse saying, I gave my assistant all of your girls' numbers, and I guess they didn't invite any of you guys. And then finally it just comes out. They're like, Drew, are you dating Dennis now? And Drew's like, what? Say what? And there's a lot of tense looks like zoinks, 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 zoinks. You know how the housewives do it, like bam, 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 bam. And that's the end of the episode. Next time on Real Housewives of Atlanta, we have a scene of Brittany talking to her husband about having a baby. We see Portia say, awful, slimy ass bitch. And then we have a scene of Portia talking to Dennis about potentially dating Drew. My God, folks, what an episode. And I know that was like a really sped up recap, but we got a great guest now. So hang with me for this guest. This is really a fascinating conversation. Taylor Lorenz, I had her on about a year and a half ago about her book, Extremely Online. And this is a really interesting conversation. It does get political, so I want to give you that heads up. If that's not your thing, I think this is an important listen too. Even if you don't agree with what we're talking about, I think it's important to listen to. And it's really talking about how creators out there, people like Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro, that kind of content can actually, skew your way of viewing in certain ways. And there's a pipeline that goes to it. So, like the Baldoni Lively conversation, there's a certain way of viewing it that we talk about that I found very interesting. We talk about Elon Musk in this. We also talk about Severance. We talk about reality shows. She is, I really, really like Taylor, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. And then tomorrow on Wednesday, we'll be back. Great. I love it when I just flub right there at the end. We will be back with an all new episode on Wednesday. I'll be driving back to California in the morning, and I hope you guys have the best Tuesday ever. Here she is, Taylor Lorenz, after this break.